Intentional butt here. My 2 cents? TKO6. What can really be said? Everything that can, has. And then some. Ad nauseum. We approach the dozen-year mark, and still there is controversy, where none ought to exist. Facts are that all 3 judges appointed by the California State Athletic Commission, 3 judges with a bevy of championship experience betwixt them, as well as virtually all, certainly a majority of press row scorers, and every journalistic publication to have promulgated a score then or now, had Vitaly Klitschko ahead on points upon reaching the halfway mark of the scheduled distance. That is fact number 1. Vitaly's face resembled a placenta immediately upon removal from the uterine cavity. That is fact number 2. Both men were patently exhausted, getting hit with big punches regularly. The difference is that one had severely diminished visibility, so that even if one said that fatigue were evenly distributed between them, the man who can't see the punches coming has to be said to be in greater danger of absorbing major cranial trauma, or being stopped in a hypothetical 7th round had one taken place and picked up where the 6th left off. If anything, the minute rest on the stool would mitigate the mutual fatigue as the main factor, if only marginally, and exacerbate the disparity in eyesight, making it the larger concern, with Vitaly's injuries being well beyond the capability of any cut man on Earth. That is fact number 3. Facts number 2 and 3 are why TKO6 is the official result, in spite of fact number 1. Call it a 29-28 decision if you want. After 6, Vitaly had banked more points on the standard 10-point must system. Yes. After 6, however, Lennox had destroyed Vitaly's face beyond the recognizable, and most referees in the history of the sport would have stopped the contest on the basis of that much facial damage. Furthermore, had there been a 7th, one has to objectively lean towards Lennox as having been the likelier to produce a stoppage, with both continuing to hurl big uppercuts at each other and land, both tired, both wobbled in the 6th, and exhibiting signs of being ready to drop from a combination of exhaustion and damage, but with just one man going increasingly blind, while the other had a clear line of sight. Vitaly claimed that his original aim was to get the fight into the 7th or 8th round, and start to work towards a stoppage of Lennox in the second half of the fight. This creates somewhat of a quagmire as concerns separating credible truth from self-delusion, or primping, or just flat-out excuse-making. On the one hand, yes, Lennox was in his 40s, and showing visible signs of decline. The only performances buffering him from the humiliation of being knocked the fuck out by Hasim Rahman were his revenge over Rahman, whom Lennox was supposed to have beaten rather easily in the first place, and his long overdue encounter with a very badly fated Mike Tyson, which still managed to serve as the era's de facto super fight, but which came undeniably too late to really feel satisfying and conclusive. Sound familiar? It could very well be that Vitaly always did plan to drag Lennox into the second half and stop him there. And that would make the reality of what did occur very bittersweet for him. It does seem a little too coincidental, however, that his avowed go time of the 7th to make a push for the stoppage happens to be less than a minute removed from when it actually was stopped. Who's to say? Well, let's hear from the man himself. Vitaly Klitschko, welcome to IB's 2 cents.
Hi there, Doc Eisenfast in the IB house. Haha.
Pleasure to be speaking with you.
Actually, the pleasure is the property of myself.
Cool. Now, regarding your famous battle in 2003.
With Kirk Johnson?
Actually, Lennox.
Actually, I know that. I was actually trolling you.
Okay. Well, regarding your stoppage loss to Lennox, much has been made about the relative momentum between you, and especially who was getting the best of the action in the 6th, which, for the record, was terrific. I mean, you guys showed tremendous heart and resiliency while essentially pulverizing each other. Now, of course, the end result was that you were pulled out because of the many ghastly cuts that Lennox had inflicted on you with punches. Razor blade dreadlock or phantom thumb conspiracy theories aside. Do you lament the stoppage even now, with the benefit of almost 12 years of perspective and reflection?
Actually, I was ahead on the cards of actually the judges and every fan on the planet, actually. My own fans and the British fans, actually. Everybody that was actually keeping score had me ahead through 6. So actually, I won the fight going on points.
But points are immaterial. Your face. You lost.
Actually, regarding the cuts, I was fine. I felt okay, they actually were not that bad. The doctor actually is the one that made an error, and he actually should have let me fight on so I could actually knock Lennox out in the 7th round.
Have you watched the fight?
Actually, every day before my cornflakes, and then again every night, actually before I put on my jammies.
So many things here. One, you wear jammies? Like the footy kind? 2, you've watched the fight that often. Actually, kind of creepy. And you still objectively believe the fight shouldn't have been stopped based on the facial damage you sustained. And 3, I gotta get this out of the way. You say actually more than Paul Williams says, nah, I'm saying. What's the deal with that? Just weird, man. Know what I'm saying?
Actually, my favorite word and my brother's in the English language is actually. The only word in any language, and we speak like 25 each. Actually, we are super smarty pants. Actually, we are doctors. But the only word that we actually like more than actually in English is bratan in our Ukrainian. This actually means a bunch like your bro in English, like the menfolk actually say around the gymnasium. Like, hey bratan, I actually pick things up and then I actually put things down. Do you even actually lift, bratan? I want to actually pump you up, bratan. Like so.
Fascinating. Anyway, the actual fight?
Yes, actually the fight. Okay, so this person who suggests to stop it, he is the ringside physician. Well, also, I actually have completed my degree and earned the right to actually be called a doctor. So, we actually have 2 doctors in disagreement, second opinion, so they actually cancel out each other, and his advice to stop the contest should have been ignored because of that. So, the existing damage making it be stopped actually is a silly goose thing for anyone to say as why. That leaves suggesting Lennox was actually going to knock me out the next time we answered the bell. So actually then here is the problem with saying I actually get stopped in the number 7. I actually have never been stopped and have actually never been knocked down. So that is actually a completely sillier goose thing for anyone to suggest as well, that I actually would be stopped when that actually has never been close to happening. I have actually never been knocked out.
Actually, you were knocked the fuck out by Pele Reed in kickboxing.
Actually, fuck you for saying that, and in professional boxing, I have never actually been knocked out.
Maybe you should have. I mean, just maybe, you'd be a lot better off if your chin was a lot worse, and you'd suffered a couple of humbling knockout defeats early in your career, like your kid brother. Maybe then you would have buttoned down your defense instead of just rolling with punches with your hands perpetually by your sides. Maybe that would have resulted in you taking a lot fewer blows to your skull over your career. I mean, Vladimir's probably going to be able to communicate with his and Hayden's grandchildren just fine when it comes time. Whereas you could foreseeably be eating through a straw and struggling to hold your infant nieces and nephews upright and steady on your lap in just a couple years' time, as symptoms begin to manifest and your middling career in politics falls apart right along with the stability of your entire country, leaving you entirely reliant upon the charity of and your legacy squarely in the perpetual shadow of your vastly superior brother. Just a thought.
Actually, I have a thought, you goddamn little...
Actually, we need to move on. Speaking of guys that got shamefully knocked the fuck out a couple of times in their otherwise legendary heavyweight all-time great careers before linking up with the late great Emanuel Stewart to smarten up and button it down, I'd like to welcome Mr. Lennox Lewis to IB's 2 cents. Lennox, do you believe TKO6 was a fair result?
Definitely.
This is wildly inappropriate on so many levels. Do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, man. One love.
Yeah, okay, that doesn't actually mean anything. Look, we're conducting an interview here. I'd like to keep it professional. I understand that you're super relaxed and confident, but you can't just do whatever you want.
Like retire without actually giving me a rematch.
Shut up, Vitaly. Go quell a riot somewhere. But yeah, Lennox, you can't just do as you please.
Of course I can, man. I'm a lion. King of the jungle. Roar!
Okay, I'm done. Oh, I'm sorry. We actually have one more late arriving guest to speak with.
I'm Kirk Johnson, and I just left the Old Country Buffet after just 4 trips, because something needs saying up in here. If that had been me in there like it was supposed to, I wouldn't ever let my big and beautiful face get tore up like that. I would have knocked Lennox out. He damn lucky I ripped my titty in training. My titty didn't rip. It would have been my day. Johnson TKO6 Lewis.
Actually, you are my bitch. So put a sock in your mouth, or actually a Twinkie.
So, my final take on the fight? TKO6, actually. Definitely.
To a blinded left eye. Oh, what an uppercut.